Have you ever prayed and heard only silence? A silence that feels heavier than noise. A silence that doesn't echo, doesn't respond, doesn't even resist it, simply stays. For those who have lived inside it, this silence becomes a presence of its own. You pray, and nothing answers. You ask, and the sky remains still. You speak the words you were taught to trust, but they seem to dissolve before they reach anything that listens. And slowly, quietly, a dangerous thought begins to form, not shouted, not dramatic, but whispered in the deepest part of your chest. What if no one is hearing me at all? Faith rarely collapses in one loud moment. It erodes. It thins. It fades in the space between hope and disappointment. Most people don't abandon belief because they are angry. They abandon it because they are tired. Tired of asking. Tired of waiting. Tired of feeling foolish for expecting something that never arrives. This is a story about that exhaustion. About a man who did everything he was told faith required of him and still found himself alone, staring into a sky that refused to speak back. James was an ordinary man. He was 35, lived in a quiet village where routines mattered more than dreams, and believed that a good life was built by doing the right things consistently. A work hard, he loved his family. Showed up. His faith was simple, inherited, unquestioned. He believed that if you were sincere, if you prayed honestly, if you tried to live well, then God would meet you somewhere along the way. Not necessarily with miracles, but with protection, with presence, with answers. When they mattered most, life didn't argue with him at first. It waited. When his wife Sarah became ill, James prayed the way he always had, calmly, confidently, assuming the situation would resolve itself. Doctors were uncertain. Tests multiplied. Bills stacked quietly on the kitchen counter. Still, James believed. He told Sarah they would get through it. He told himself this was just a difficult chapter, not the story. But the chapter refused to end. Sarah's condition worsened. No clear diagnosis, no simple treatment. Just uncertainty, stretching week after week. James began praying differently. Longer, harder. Not with calm confidence anymore, but with urgency, with a fear he tried to hide. "Please," he whispered in the early mornings, "please don't let this be permanent. Please don't let this take her from me." Then the factory closed. 12 years of steady work vanished in a single announcement. James walked home that day, holding a box of belongings that felt far too small to contain the weight of what he had just lost. He prayed again, louder this time, more desperate. He searched, applied, waited. Nothing came. And then, as if the world had decided to test how much one person could carry, the phone rang late one night. His mother was gone. A heart attack. Sudden. Final. No warning. No goodbye. That night, James stood alone in his backyard. The house was dark. Sarah slept upstairs, exhausted from pain and medication. The sky above him was empty, no stars, no moon, nothing to soften the black, and for the first time in his life, James didn't feel like praying. He felt like accusing. Not because he believed help waited there, but because he didn't know where else to take his doubt. Brother Thomas was in the garden when James arrived, kneeling in the soil, hands slow and steady, as if time itself moved differently around him. His face carried the calm of someone who had survived more than he ever explained. James didn't ease into the conversation. He unloaded everything. The illness, the job, the loss, the prayers that felt unanswered. The silence that felt cruel. His voice cracked when he said the words he had tried to avoid. If God accepts, why does he stay quiet when it hurts this much? Brother Thomas didn't respond immediately. He finished pressing soil around a small plant, then stood, brushed his hands, and gestured for James to follow him deeper into the garden. They walked slowly past rows of earth that looked nothing alike, some dark and empty, some just beginning to show green, some heavy with leaves, others overflowing with color and scent. Most people think faith is proven by what blooms, Brother Thomas said softly. But faith is formed long before that. He stopped beside a patch of soil that looked lifeless. No green, no movement, just earth. If you didn't know better, you'd think this place had been abandoned, he said. But beneath the surface, something is happening. Seeds don't announce themselves when they begin to change. They break apart in silence. They swell in darkness. They grow downward before they ever rise. James stared at the soil, unmoved at first. Then something in the monk's voice slowed him. "We mistake silence for absence," Brother Thomas continued. But silence is often the space where the deepest work is done. If growth made noise, no one would ever give up too early. But it doesn't. So people stop watering what they cannot see. De y moveth on. Tiny shoots struggled through the earth in the next section. Fragile, almost invisible. This is where most people quit. The monk sighed. Not because nothing is happening, but because something is. Breaking through takes everything the seed has. It feels like failure from the inside. Further on, strong plants waited patiently, not yet blooming. And finally, color, abundance, beauty that justified every unseen season before it. Same seeds, Brother Thomas said. Same soil, same care, different timing. James felt something loosened inside him, not relief, but understanding. Faith, the monk said, is not trusting that God will remove your pain. It is trusting that pain does not mean abandonment. Silence does not mean neglect. Waiting does not mean nothing is happening. James went home that day with seeds in his pocket and doubt still in his chest. But something had changed. That night, when he prayed, he didn't demand answers. He didn't bargain. He simply said, "I don't understand, but I will stay." Days passed. Then weeks. The soil behind his house remained empty. His life remained hard. Sarah was still sick. Money was still tight. But James kept watering, kept showing up. Not because he felt hopeful every day, but because faith had stopped being a feeling and become a decision. Slowly, things shifted. Not dramatically, quietly. A job opportunity that didn't look impressive. Conversations that felt deeper. Strength that arrived before solutions. And one morning, green where there had only been dirt. Months later, James stood in his garden, surrounded by flowers, and understood something he never could have learned from comfort. Faith is not believing when you see proof. Faith is staying when you don't. If you are praying into silence right now, if you are waiting without answers, if the sky feels empty and the nights feel long, this is not the end of your story. It may be the soil, and something sacred may be happening there. Unseen, unheard, but very much alive. Keep watering and keep trusting. Growth does not announce itself, but it always comes. And one day, when the silence finally breaks, you may realize it was never empty at all. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one.